Okay, so now that I'm done ranting in my other video, I wanted to talk to everyone about a little series called Kingdom Hearts. I know this is like a year and a half too late to get people caught up for Kingdom Hearts 3. But I've been seeing a lot of people get into it last 6 months, a year, especially the release of Kingdom Hearts 3. Eventually people picking it up, especially when it's cheap and on sale, on a deal. And oh God, how do you describe the question? I mean, you've seen the title, so you know what is Kingdom Hearts as a series? What is it supposed to represent? What is the base outline? What is the and anybody, you ever ask anybody this question? Oh boy, especially people from the Kingdom Hearts community. Here's how it sounds. Somebody asking like, "Hey, what's Kingdom Hearts about?" And it's always like, okay, so there's this weapon. It's a key. The main boy has a key. I mean, the other boy has a key. The girl has a key. A lot of people have keys, but in the beginning, there's only one key. Um, there's this old guy. But wait, he's not really old. But in the beginning, he's kind of old, and it's not him, but it's kind of not him, and it's like it's so convoluted. um, but I have three easy words to describe Kingdom Hearts. Three easy words, and then I have this little thing here that's gonna describe everything. Uh, but three easy words. I'm not gonna jerk you around till the end. I'm just gonna tell it to you straight. Drum roll, please. What is Kingdom Hearts? It's anime Star Wars. It's a really simple. And I'm gonna go through it. We're gonna go through a little bit of why it is anime Kingdom Hearts, the similarities, and yeah, we'll go from there. So why is Kingdom Hearts anime Star Wars? Well, first off, a lot of people don't realize is Star Wars is something that is used as it's a piece of media that's influenced Kingdom Hearts. Always has been from the very beginning. Three things that really made it what it is. Two of the things are already present in the series: Disney, Final Fantasy, and very Star Wars. Very, very Star Wars. A lot of other things. And everywhere else where it's not Disney or Final Fantasy, it's Star Wars. And like I said, it's anime Star Wars. Final Fantasy version. Instead of like aliens and clone troopers and all this other stuff, there's Disney characters, Final Fantasy characters, and then whoever else exists in the universe. I don't know how it goes as far as Marvel or Star Wars, actually Star Wars, which now is just ironic that they're all part of the same series. Um, so before I go to describing the characters and everything, um, why is it anime Star Wars? Well, let me just do the basics. You start off in the beginning of the story on a small world. You then take your character who realizes that that one small little world that they thought was the whole world was just a little piece of one world of many, many, many worlds in this vast sky, this big space that we call the universe. We call it the world and everything, but it's the universe. Essentially, it's the light side of the universe. You get to know later, but that's separate. You then travel on a ship with companions, traveling from world to world to world. When you get to said world, you interact with two people: Daisins of the world and Daisins of darkness. Who are the people in the world? The Disney characters, Final Fantasy characters, whoever the world is based around. Who are the people of darkness? Everyone who's on the dark side. So in Kingdom Hearts, there's certain enemies and there's certain people who control these enemies are on the side of darkness. Star Wars, it's the Sith and then whoever they're controlling, whether it's Palpatine and stormtroopers or it's and clone troopers. Actually, yeah, Palpatine and clone and stormtroopers, and then Palpatine with storm troopers and but wait, Snoke was in charge of the other troopers. But then Snoke was Palpatine. Yeah, and Kingdom Hearts is fucking convoluted. The world, the outline has the basics there. The powers in Star Wars and Kingdom Hearts. In Star Wars, it's the Force. Kingdom Hearts, it's the power of the heart. What are the two factions you have there? The light and the darkness. Light side of the Force, dark side of the Force. Light side of the heart, darkness in the heart. The light inside of the heart, darkness in the heart. There's light inside the darkness. There's darkness that creates the light. It's the same shit. Same things. Now, a lot of the things people will go on are the characters. We're like, wait, characters? How do characters of Kingdom Hearts relate to Star Wars at all. And not every character is copy and pasted. The characters, even the characters that resemble each other, aren't copy and pasted. They're all influenced to each other. It's all one whole cohesive story. It's something that works. There's a reason why you don't see the Rey Skywalker in every other series. The reason why when Rey Skywalker came out it was a problem. The reason why people didn't really like Anakin, besides Hayden Christensen and stuff with actors or whatever. There's a reason why Anakin's kind of split. You know, you like him, you don't. You like him, you don't. Luke, everyone really likes Luke. He's a real character. He goes through real trials and tribulations. Rey gets everything like handed to her on a plate. You can say like losing Han is whatever. She gets it handed to her on a plate. Like from beginning to one, she is just ultimately awesome. It's like the new Mulan. She's just awesome from the beginning. She just has to learn to control that awesomeness. There's a reason why it works to have a protagonist that sucks and then gets better. So who are the protagonists? I'm going to read what I wrote down for 1, 2, 3, 4 characters. They're the main protagonist, the main protagonist's love interest, the main protagonist's best friend, or friend, ally, and then the main antagonist. And then you'll hear other pieces there. So I'm just going to describe, I just wrote a basic overview. I think I only put like 1 or 2 words that connect to Star Wars in there. And you tell me what kind of characters this sounds like. And in the space I have here, I'll try to point, hold my hands up, ooh, right there, and I'll try to put pictures of the characters that I think they go along if I'm going to do any motion. So let me just describe these. And these are, by the way, written for Kingdom Hearts, but you tell me if you hear any similarities with something like a Star Wars character. The main protagonist of Kingdom Hearts is a young boy with a pure heart who longs for adventure and is a kind, strong individual, not realizing how big the rest of the world is until they set out on an adventure. And at the start of their journey, they are met by 2 companions who accompany them until they find the royalty that they serve, who's on a mission to protect the universe, or in danger, or they're on the journey to save people. They might possibly be in danger, but the main point is they're there to protect the universe. This person also makes friends with angsty outsiders who help them along the way. Specifically, one angsty outsider who helps them along the way. And now the secondary character, say another hero of the story, is a young man who just happens to know this boy. Their relation in Star Wars doesn't have anything that direct. They didn't exist in the same time as these characters I'm comparing them to. But the secondary character is a young man who is chosen to wield a great power, but on their way out for adventure, stumbles and is swayed to the darkness by an older, looming villain pulling the strings behind the scenes. I wonder who that sounds like. Along the way, this person then rejects the darkness towards the end, and as one final act, does what they can to help the good guys. And this person not only holds back the bad guy from attacking the good guys and ending this and winning things, but also helps out in one final act in the end to help the good guys and to show that they have changed their allegiance from the darkness to the light. Originally from the light to the darkness, now back to the light, but they have finally changed their allegiance from the darkness to the light. The companion to this other chosen one, later in the series, is a mentor figure who is someone of pure heart. Who's someone who's a very strong light side user of the light side of, I don't even want to say force because it's like the light power. And this person, this mentor figure and this chosen one are good friends, and they are then both taught by a grand master of the good guys to thwart both the darkness internally and externally. This grand master that I'm saying is a mentor figure who is essentially, in Kingdom Hearts, it's the Keyblades. This is an old Keyblade wielder who, this mentor, in their later years, no longer uses the Keyblade, which is what the lightsaber equivalent. they no longer use the Keyblade. This person then relies on just the powers of the heart. We've only seen them use light, we haven't seen them use darkness, but we assume that they just know the powers of the heart, the powers of light and powers of darkness. Very aware of them both. The third person is the female in the role of Kingdom Hearts 1. I wrote a very little bit because there's really not much more to go on her that I don't think they have in common, but she is a young, strong of heart, yet gentle princess who is the love interest of both men. But mostly it's the main protagonist. In the first game, she's a love interest and kind of a motivation for both, but she's really the love interest of the main protagonist. She takes a back seat to the action, most of the action in the game, but it ends up being pivotal to the story. It doesn't sound familiar to anyone. Actually, this does. This is definitely Ray. I'd say it's 100% Ray. And the main antagonist of this, I'm not even going to go. I'm just going to like leave this area and hopefully I'll put the creeping picture from the bottom up so you guys can see. The main antagonist of the series, up to this point, well, up until Kingdom Hearts 3, where there'd be new antagonists, but I'm not going to diverge there. So the main antagonist is an old man who has lived their life to gain power through the darkness and is the main antagonist of the series thus far. This person has a variety of weird abilities that helps them through manipulation, cloning or an ability that mimics cloning, knowledge of the darkness, etc., and uses these things to achieve their goals. They constantly interact with the good guys, specifically before they're the main antagonist, when they're not really known by the good, when it's not known by the protagonist that this person is the main antagonist, they interact a lot more. But when they're found out to be the main antagonist, then it's the light versus the dark. It's more of a war. They interact with the good guys, and after winning the first battle many years ago, then falls to the main protagonist with the help of their friends. Now, I wrote this to be pretty much as like generic for Sora, Riku, Kairi, and Master Xehanort, or Xehanort, Master Xehanort, all of the people who encompass him, because it is all one person, one, you know, yeah, they're kind of a little different. It's one person, just like Snoke is different than Palpatine, yeah. But it's like these three, you can replace these. You could put these four descriptions in for Luke, Anakin, Leia, and Palpatine. The whole Skywalker family and Palpatine, the main antagonist. And you could put more into here. The Grand Master of the good guys. In Kingdom Hearts, that's Yen Sid. In Star Wars, it's Yoda. And later on in his years, Yoda doesn't use a sword. He uses mostly just force powers. Which later in the series also helps the main protagonist use not just the sword, which he's been using the entire time, but more of the abilities that come with the sword. Kind of like how Yoda kind of teaches Luke. The person who is the companion to the Chosen One is a mentor figure to this person, as well as a good friend. And they were both taught by the Grandmaster. That's Obi-Wan. It's Obi-Wan. And this figure is also a looming mentor figure in Kingdom Hearts 1 for Sora, Luke. That's what Obi-Wan kind of is. And it's not an exact one-to-one, but it's very, very similar. It's like on the same fucking grounds. Where is the other one? Here we go. At the start of the journey, at the start of his journey, at the start of Luke's journey, he meets two companions to accompany him until they find the royalty they serve, who is on a mission to protect the universe. This is R2-D2 and C-3PO's stories. They leave their royalty, who sent them on a mission to go find chosen person. Then Hero meets chosen person, even though the main protagonist is not the chosen person they were meant to find, but happens to be a person who can help them out on their journey. They then follow this person, not just in the next one, but on and on and on, and become the good companions of this person. R2D2 and Luke are best friends. And nobody likes C3PO, but nobody really likes Donald. Goofy's cooler, especially that Kingdom Hearts 3 stance he makes. Also makes friends with an angsty outsider who helps him along the journey. In Star Wars, it's Han, and Han accompanies everybody. But in Kingdom Hearts, it's Leon, and he doesn't accompany you, but he is in sporadic pieces, not just in the first story, but throughout. And by the time of the third edition of the thing, his role in the story kind of lessens, and he's just there to help everyone else as side characters. This is so very much like Star Wars, like almost identical, especially when it comes to the stuff of the villains. How do they do it? How do they get to power? Manipulation. It's Palpatine's whole thing, manipulation. Their knowledge of the darkness is what basically means is it puts them as like the overall looming dark figure until somebody else takes that mantle, either by getting more knowledge or attaining this person's knowledge. But until now, this person is like, even if there are other people in the darkness you need to fight, this person is the overall high darkness. And then cloning. I mean, anyone who's watched Star Wars, whether it's the extended universe or the newer films, Rise of Skywalker, any of that, you know Palpatine does cloning. If you read the extended universe and been a Star Wars fan for years, you've known that cloning is exactly what you were expecting from Palpatine. Once you saw Episode 7, you're like, oh, Palpatine's going to be back. There's going to be some sort of cloning. There's going to be something with his DNA to make something else. It's going to be something. In Kingdom Hearts, it's a little different. I'm not going to explain it because they have to get all convoluted with the whole Kingdom Hearts mumbo jumbo. But by the end of the series, there's 13 Xehanorts. Cloned himself. Found a way to successfully clone himself without cloning himself. Which also, in order to make this cloning, then had to use tons of manipulation to get there, and their knowledge of the darkness, which it all ties together. They're really like the same characters. When you just take the basic outlines, they all follow a very similar path and everything. And that's not even taking into account the Keyblade mirrors the lightsaber like identically, the way it's wielded. Dual wielding them, there's a front handle, there's a back handle, there's different styles of Keyblade combat. Instead of using like lightning and force pushes and stuff, it's more Final Fantasy with fire and blizzard and thunder and cure. There are people who specialize in certain elements. Maybe Obi-Wan's really good on force pushing. Anakin's good on force choking. Palpatine's good at force lightning. Mace Windu was just a master of combat. He didn't have maybe a specific force ability he had. He just had that. Mace Windu would be Terra in Kingdom Hearts. He might have he's a character that rides the line of light and darkness, but he's mostly just a physical brawler. Very good physical brawler. Kairi in Kingdom Hearts is mostly light-based and reflect and defensive abilities. Riku uses a lot of fire and darkness, and he uses the darkness later. He then acquires the darkness and uses it later. Sora uses whatever the hell the story needs him to use. Aqua is magic based, so her physical attacks aren't superior, but her magic skills are there. Everybody has niches. They're all very similar. Everything. And that's really all to explain to it. That's all it is. Anyone who wants to explain to you that Kingdom Hearts is so much more complicated than this, and you have to know this to know that to know that. If you've ever watched Star Wars, all you have to do is know the story of Star Wars: A New Hope, and know the story of Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker, and some variant of the prequels. As long as you have knowledge of that, I could take this right here and describe any one Kingdom Hearts. And then when they go play Kingdom Hearts, then they go say the light and the darkness, and they realize, oh, they're talking about the Force. They're talking about lightsabers, or they're talking about kyber crystals, kind of thing. You can piece it together. I bet if I gave this to my friend Jared, he knows Star Wars, but he doesn't know Kingdom Hearts. I can have him play Kingdom Hearts. He'd be like, yeah, this seems very childish, but I see the similarities like right down the line. So yeah, it's not that hard. It's not hard to figure out. It's not really, right? It's not really any more complicated than that. And there's a lot more. It's like there's a lot I'm leaving out. I'm not trying to get you into Kingdom Hearts. I'm not trying to describe the entire story of 11 games in like less than 30 minutes. You know, there's people who have done that. There's people who will describe that. There's cliff notes for all the things. But if somebody who's going and playing these games or watching a video and going, I don't know, this is so convoluted, I don't get it. You have to be saying the same thing about Star Wars. It's the same thing. It really is. When it comes down to it, it's very, very, very similar. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope to anyone that thought that Kingdom Hearts is confusing, or even to people who don't think that Kingdom Hearts is confusing. Maybe there's Kingdom Hearts fans here who just gone like, "Oh my God, my mind is blown." Just I'd never made that connection. There you go. My goal here is to have anybody understand the story and the complexity of Kingdom Hearts a little easier, and I hope you guys did.